How's it, guys? Welcome back to our third episode of King Encounter. Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Lighthouse to the Nations for this great venue and just allowing us to use this. And we are truly, truly, truly blessed with that. So thank you, guys. Today's guest is Jerome. And Jerome, I want to start this off by asking you one question that means the world. Sure. What is the greatest piece of advice you've ever heard?
Greatest piece of advice I've ever heard. It was probably out of a movie. Star Wars, out of all things. It was Chewbacca. He said, changed my life forever. I've just never been the same.
Yeah. Okay, so this is supposed to be a serious podcast. I don't know if I was going to say
Icebreaker.
Go. Okay, bro. So basically, let's just get going like all things. Let's start in the beginning, bro. Tell me about your childhood. Where'd you grow up? Tell me about your parents.
Okay, so I had a idyllic childhood. It was perfect. I was born in a little place called Barberton in Mpumalanga, one-horse town. We moved out to a place called Kaapsehoop. I was raised on a mine, essentially. It was in the middle of the Sappy forests.
So pretty.
So picturesque.
Wild horses.
Not wild horses. You're not in the city life. It was heaven. It was you couldn't ask for anything. Come from a outstanding family. My mother and father were married over 50 years. Just absolutely blessed. I couldn't have asked for anything whatsoever. So, we moved from Nelspruit to Benoni. Then it was to Port Elizabeth and back to Benoni and back to P and then back to Port Elizabeth again. It was a lot of moving up and down for a couple
of years. Parents' work?
My dad, Okay. Yeah. So my dad moved a lot for work. Okay. But I still had a very good childhood. I mean, not only was my mother and father fantastic, down-to-earth people, but my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, blood is thicker than water when it comes to my family. So, perfect.
I get you.
I feel I cannot connect with somebody who has a distressed family. It's very strange because I don't know what that's like. And I mean, moved to Benoni, it was great. Moved to Port Elizabeth, I mean, also it was the idyllic setting. I could go to the beach whenever I wanted, and the weather was always great. I had a great group of friends. But
is this primary school?
This is all primary school.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first few years of my life, I would say up until about 12, was great. Okay. There was really no trauma. There was nothing, life-changing that happened, except for the moving, which at the time, I was very young. It didn't matter to me really. But in later years, I could never establish long-term relationships. We'd just get to make friends, and then it would be move. And we make friends and move. So, when you're young, you can sort of hit that refresh button quite easily. But when you're older, you like routine, you like stability. Anyway, so when we were in Port Elizabeth, we started attending church, and I can remember going on a camp again to this beautiful beach, down on the Eastern Cape coastline, and it was with the church group, and I gave my life to Jesus for the first time, and was filled with the Holy Spirit, and I was like, this is incredible. I want to go and preach to the world. And I'll never forget standing up in a Sunday, giving my testimony, my mother and father sitting somewhere in the crowd. I can't remember a single thing I said. I must have been 12 years old. My mom said that there was people walking out, like one or two people were crying. So it was obviously quite a moving thing. And it was nice. I mean, the school friends that I went to school with, we were in church together, it was a nice community. Anyway, so the breaking point was, there was a few things in my early childhood at the time which didn't seem significant. I didn't like myself all that much. I didn't quite like the way I looked. didn't quite like the way I spoke. I didn't have as much confidence as the other kids.
So like identity.
100%.
Okay.
Flawed belief system. Nobody had to tell me I had
Flawed belief system in
myself.
yourself. Okay.
So I didn't need anybody to speak negatively upon me. I did it myself.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then the call was made, no, we're going to move back to Joburg. And at that point, that was sort of the first trigger, if I could call it that. I didn't want to move. I was happy in Port Elizabeth. I had a great group of friends. I enjoyed going to church. I'd actually just started high school. So that was 93.
I was born in 92, Toppy.
Leave me alone. So I knew I should have shaved before this. And it broke me. It really did. Like that to me was the first sort of trauma I can recall. Was feeling that hurt. I'm going, geez, I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And at that point, well, my father had come up to Joburg first, and my mom and I stayed behind. The house had to get sold and packing up and whatever. And my mom and I drove to Joburg, and right there, that was my connection lost with Christ. Boom. The minute we got in that car, it was done. There was no more church. There was no more worship. There was no more pray. It was done. I don't even think to myself like, forget about Christ. It was easy. It was easy as, opening a door handle.
Yeah.
That was it. Done. So coming from Port Elizabeth, which was this rainbow, sort of fairy tale life, moving up to Johannesburg, where now it's this fast-paced rat race, highly pressurized and stressed place. And now coming into this high school environment was not pretty. Here's me thinking, hey, everybody's like the same as what they are in PE, but that's not the case. You're dunking kids into dustbins and, this swearing and this and all of this going on. And I thought, damn, here's a kid with a middle path and braces going, I'm in the wolf's lair here.
Yeah.
So I made a small group of friends, call us the outcasts, if you were, and but good guys, started to play sports and got into sports quite a lot. Cricket was my thing, and I really delved deep into cricket. It was good. I enjoyed it, and I was good at it as well. But all the time in the background, that little inner voice got a bit louder, where there was no confidence and like, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you can't do this. No, there was always that flawed belief system that just got louder and louder and louder.
Yeah.
So this was now in high school. Although to anybody else, looking at me from an outsider's point of view, there was nothing wrong. I was good at sports, I had a good group of friends, my marks weren't bad. There was no initial warning signs, So skip forward, 2-3 years or whatever it might have been, and then the pressure started to mount a little bit in my own head.
Self-placed pressure.
100%.
Okay.
My marks started to drop a little bit and started experimenting with alcohol. Also, it was innocent at the time. A group of friends said, hey, look, my mom's out for the weekend. Come to my place. We've got a few ciders. Let's poke the bear a bit and to see what happens. It was innocent. We had a few drinks and everybody laughed and messed around, and you woke up the next morning fine, and it was like, okay, that wasn't so bad. I don't know what the big deal is.
Yeah.
There was no masking going on at that stage. So, but that alcohol had given me something I didn't have, which was self-confidence. I could be somebody that I wanted to be like. Somebody of this world.
Yeah.
Where I was seen. Where I could be the life of the party.
Yeah.
Anyway, and my marks slowly started to drop, and then the alcohol just became a sort of a every weekend thing. You'd go out and it would be a Friday.
Roughly, what's that age group?
Also about 16.
Okay, so
roughly, yeah.
About grade 10 almost?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then it was, then it became more established because the more we started to go out, the more you started to drink. Because the two and two went now hand in hand. You know? You go out, you play a bit of pool, you'd have a few drinks.
Yeah.
You go.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask something because this is from my side. This is what I experienced, and I just want to get it for someone else. Being decent at a sport, enjoying a sport, being with guys slightly older than yourself because you naturally do go higher than your age group because you're better at that sport. Did that affect you in any way?
No.
Nothing.
So I never hung out with those guys.
Okay.
The older crowd.
I get you.
I hear exactly what you're saying. I mean, I started playing for first team when I was, not of age.
No, I get you.
But yeah, my dad was always around, so it was like finish the game, jump in the car.
Let's go. Yeah.
So yeah, I never hung out with those
Mine
guys.
went sideways with club cricket. Because I was 13 playing Prem.
Okay.
And then now these oaks are paying fines, and you're like, I don't even know what a fine is.
What is a fine?
That's where it went sideways very quickly.
Okay.
But
no, I didn't have that.
No, I get you.
And then, so the more I started to go out, the more I started to drink. Everybody did.
Yeah.
Once again, it was innocent fun. Nobody was planning on doing it. It was just a couple of drinks. You'd have a few laughs. And then one day we said, hey, let's go to a nightclub here in Boksburg. And on the way home, we'd smoke a joint. So I was like, well, I don't really want to do that. I know it's a drug and it's bad. And we had a guy at school come and talk to us about it. And I'm like, I don't really want to do it. But he said, do you want to try? I was like, no, what's the harm in it? No one's around. My mom and dad aren't here. So, had a toke and nothing big came out of it. Had a couple of laughs, went home, finished a Nando's meal and some more. But it was okay. It didn't hurt anybody. And it was funny. We all had a laugh.
Yeah.
And, a month later, then you'd have another joint, and then it would be less than a month. It would be like 2 weeks, and then you'd have it like on a Friday and a Saturday. And then you'd be smoking 2 a day instead of 1. And, so this habit slowly started to take over. All at the same time, the voices are going like, you can't go talk to a pretty girl. You don't have the confidence. You're not good looking enough. It would be things like that. You're such an idiot. You can't even study for a test. Well, did I study for the test? Couldn't really be honest with myself about these things. And I wasn't putting my hand up anyway,
I get you.
I thought this was just me. Nobody else is going through this. So anyway, then it was a rave.
What is a rave?
Yeah, I used to go to lots of raves, man. So my mate said, come, let's go to this rave. I was like, cool, let's do it. I've always heard my cousins speaking about it. They've been to Joburg Station and it was amazing. And, and this person's been like, dude, you must hear the music. And I love the music, And so my mate said, come, let's go. Let's organize some drugs and we'll go for it. I was like, I remember that guy on the stage at the school, telling us about his life and, I'm into my cricket.
Let's just go back. How old are you at this point?
I must have been, I was still in high school, 17.
Okay.
I don't think I'd even hit 18 yet.
Okay.
So, my drug use started at around age 16.
Okay.
And when I say drug use, a mind-altering substance, i.e. alcohol. So, I'd organized ecstasy pills. It was so long ago. The pill was so big, it looked like a suppository. It was huge. So I was like, geez, you want me to swallow that? And I'll never forget it. I took this pill and it was called the Battle of the DJs. Danced the whole night. The music was better, the lights were better, everything was amazing, I could touch, see, and I was like, wow, it gave me so much energy and I felt great.
Yeah.
didn't feel so good when I came down from it. But anyway, and again, it was that attraction, It wasn't to get higher. It was more like, wow, that was an amazing experience.
Yeah, mask.
It's a different kind of mask. Did I notice it? No. I had no clue, Didn't think too much about it. I was like, okay, I do feel a bit guilty, but it's like, it's cool. I haven't hurt anybody. I haven't hurt myself. I didn't kill anyone. What's the harm? So now it was alcohol, weed, ecstasy. Then it was trying out LSD. Then it was trying out this. Then it was trying out that.
Yeah.
And then, by the time I matriculated, I was hitting cocaine and ketamine and whatever you wanted. So now I was like, I was an addict,
Yeah.
I didn't admit it, but I mean, I was like, well, it's fine. This is just a phase. It's just a thing. I'll leave school and they'll probably fall away. I mean, who knows,
And I'm functioning.
Dude, I did spend the best 2 years of my life in Standard 9. Did I think it was the drugs or the alcohol or the lifestyle I was getting into? No. I'd say like, geez, you're an idiot,
Yeah.
That's what I do. I would self-harm myself with words.
Yeah.
So I leave school, everybody's now starting their lives, university, gap year, going there, doing this. It's like, well, Jerome, what do you want to do with your life? I was like, well, I guess I want to just go and work, So I didn't think about, I wasn't using every day.
Yeah.
But I mean, every weekend, I was getting smashed. So I was like, well, I need to afford this lifestyle or something. I need to do something with my life. So I started working and got paid 500 Rand on a Friday night. And by Saturday morning, it would all be gone. But that was the best $500 I've ever spent. Little did I know that while I'm trying to become a functioning adult by going to work and funding my habit, I'm also killing myself very slowly and silently.
Yeah.
Did I notice this? No. I mean, now I was in a work environment. Guys went for drinks on a Friday afternoon after work. I was like, well, this is normal, We'd all go to our Hagen's pub and get smashed, wake up Saturday morning feeling like crap, but we'd be at work.
Yeah.
This was just the cycle of how life was.
Pretty much.
Well, I'd go out with the mates and we'd go clubbing or we'd go to a rave. No one would be the wiser.
Yeah.
I was a good functioning drug addict. It turns out that I wasn't successful at school because I didn't put the effort in. But at work, at school, 90% is brilliant.
Yeah.
But at work, 90% is a fail,
Yeah.
When I gave 100% at work, I was good at it. So I worked myself up through the ranks of a business, started to make more money. And with more money came more drug use. Now I had lots more cash. Now I could really get stuck into it.
Yeah.
So I could use drugs at work. Oh man, it was a debaucherous affair. So eventually it got to such a point where I was using pretty much daily.
Yeah.
I wasn't sleeping properly. I would, to get through the day, I'd have to meet my dealer at 7 o'clock in the morning or at 8. Go to work, try and function.
Yeah.
I don't know how that was possible. I must have looked absolutely horrific to clients. And then leave and still use and then go and crash. Now at this point, the drugs had taken over. I was in my early 20s and that was it.
Yeah.
Now I'm done for. So I became very much dependent.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, it was the best way to silence all the doubt I had in myself. I didn't feel the depression, I didn't feel the anxiety. That little snot-nosed kid with the braces in the middle path was now dead. That innocent child. That's the sportsman that used to be has also died. The drugs had now become my decision maker and my voice and my thinking. And I was on my way to work. I think I was about 24 at the time. obviously from a bender. And I was getting to Galuli's interchange on my way to Santon, and I was like, geez, I can't go to work like this. Like, I feel terrible. I need a way out. So, what do I do? So I came up with an ingenious plan. I phoned my boss. I said, listen, I'm a drug addict, I used the truth as a lie.
I get you.
So I was like, I don't want to go to work, so I'm going to get out of work by like claiming, I got a problem. That I really putting up a white flag saying I need help? No, I wasn't. Through all my drug use, I was an outstanding manipulator. I was an outstanding liar. I mean, I would get people to believe their own lies. I could get a cop to give me drugs back, without having to pay him for it. It was, I could manipulate any situation and person I wanted to. So it was easy. I would go and spend 30 days or 28 days or whatever it was in a rehab, going like, okay, I got out of work and I'm getting paid. So it's like,
It's bonus.
Yeah, it's like a paid vacation,
Yeah.
I left Sanko Horizon, my first sort of stint in a rehab. I must have been clean for less than a month, man, a couple of weeks. Went straight back to using. Like, nothing stopped, nothing slowed down. I didn't learn anything.
Yeah.
And life carried on. I kept working, but, I say working, I was... An addict loves distraction. We love... We thoroughly enjoy, sabotaging ourselves. Yeah. So I was successful working for a company, but I botched that up. I started stealing money from them and didn't come to work regularly. And when I did come to work, I was wasted anyway. Yeah. So they eventually caught me and fired me. And it was a perpetual cycle. I just kept on doing that for a couple of years. Yeah. Found a job, did well, started to make money, liked the chaos, stuffed it up. Yeah. They asked me to leave. Well, I just wouldn't even come back to work, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was, again, a couple of years after that, I must have been late 20s. And I was like, I'm like, I got a problem, want to go to rehab. Here's another escape. So I'll never forget, my dad still took me and we sat in front of that counselor, a young black lady. And I said, can't I just be locked up at home? Like lock the door, my bedroom door, and I'd be in there for like 21 days. And she was like, well, Jerome, if you there, who's going to help you?
Yeah.
I was like, this lady's sussed me out.
Called my bluff.
Yeah, she's like, damn, you're good. So anyway, went into rehab again for like 21 days or 28 days or whatever it was. Call it the tumble dry rehab. So because, you stick your jeans in the tumble dryer quick, but it's like there's still a few damp spots, you don't come out 100% dry.
That's good, sure.
And then it starts smelling after a while. So then I go to rehab and I actually absorbed a bit of knowledge there, started to do a little bit of introspective thinking and searching in this. Never found Jesus, although, I knew like he was...
Sorry, there. These rehabs that you went to, were they Christian-based rehabs or were they just recovery?
No, it was just recovery.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they'd call in a minister every now and then. They would touch on it.
Okay,
but it wasn't a faith-driven.
Okay, I get you.
At all. So, and then left there. And I can remember white-knuckling that stint. When I came out, I white-knuckled that for quite a while. It must have been less than a year, give or take 8-10 months somewhere there. I was clean. But being clean is not being in recovery.
Yeah.
Because I can stop using drugs, but I can still be a douchebag.
Yeah.
The behavior is still there. So, anyway.
I see a lot of times what I've learned and what I've seen, what I've lived through. There's this self-destructive circle that constantly happens. So we go through this point where we're like, okay, my body can't take what I'm putting it through. My mind cannot take what it's going through. Life has just become too much. I'm going to out quickly go to a rehab. And then you've got this little thing. We're almost there. And guess where we're at again?
I can answer that.
Guess where we're at again?
When life goes well for an addict, we don't know how to handle it.
How come?
We're not used to things being normal.
Yeah.
We're not used to having success, having a family, having a good partner. We're not used to good things happening to us. We like living in the darkness. That's where we're comfortable.
Yeah.
We like the lies. We like the deception. It's a fact. When life goes well, it's new.
Yeah.
So self-destruction seems the best way out to change it up a little bit.
Pretty much.
Because I need you to feel sorry for me.
And also, don't you find, so it can go one or two ways. So I'm going to self-destruct because when everything goes pear-shaped, I cannot blame anyone else because you know what? I did this. This is where I'm at.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to self-destruct because I can't keep this together. Therefore, Bob, John, Sarah, Peter, whoever, I'm going to blame them.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I tap out and I'm done.
The sky's too blue, the grass is too green,
Yeah.
the dog's too loud.
Yes.
Like you are the problem. And I mean, I had that with my last job. I blame my boss for everything. Like, dude, this oak is a Nazi. I hate him. He's the worst person on the face of the planet. He's always on my back. Dude, did I ever go like, hold on a second, why is he doing that? It's because I'm the problem.
Come on.
I'm the guy that's causing issues at work. I'm the guy that's late. I'm the guy that's not performing.
Yeah.
Like I'm making his life a living hell. Like,
Yeah.
But he's the problem. He's
definitely.
making me like this.
Yes.
And I mean, so I've had multiple suicide attempts, same thing, because it gets to a point where you hit the nail on the head. It's either I've got to blame the world, society, or whatever excuse you want to use, or I need to sort this out myself.
Yeah.
I need to take control of this and end it. So never worked. Never worked. Most selfless.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
You don't have to go there. Okay, let's get back to where we were. So you get to the second rehab,
Get to the
wet
second
patches on your
rehab.
jeans.
Yeah, the wet jeans. So come out of rehab, I've learned a little bit. I go to one or two, NA meetings for a little bit, and I stay clean for a couple of months, but I'm not living a life of recovery. I'm just white knuckling this whole sort of thing through. Throughout my whole drug life, my parents also just, they thought it was a phase maybe, but they always thought that I would make the right decision. So my mom and dad supported me. My family supported me. It's good to have the support structure if you use it.
Come on.
If you're not using it, it's of no benefit.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started playing a bit of action cricket, and there was a thing called a castle challenge. So if you win the tournament, you win a case of castles.
I was there that day. We played on the same team.
So we played countless castle challenges. So being clean for a couple of months, I'm going like, hey, one beer is not going to be a problem. I can have one beer and just celebrate with the boys.
Yeah.
Okay, so that should have been the first massive alarm bell there.
Can I know it's not up to me and it's not up to, but I want to get something out that I feel needs to get out. And I feel that a lot of times as Christians and as we too scared to offend. So we just take a back step. I was there that day. I was sober already. I stopped my nonsense. And instead of not wanting to hurt your feelings, I should grab my balls and say to you, bro, what are you doing? But instead, I'm like, he's a big boy. It's just one.
Yeah, sure.
And I feel like as Christians, we weren't called to be these weak rollovers. Bro, Jesus grabbed a stick and whipped people. You brood of vipers. Why are we so easy to just take a back step and go, shame, sorry.
There's nothing more evil than when a man stands by and watches evil happen.
Come on, that's good, bro.
So if I see somebody beating a woman, not that I have, but if I'm going to see it in a situation, in line with what you're saying, if I'm going to see a man beating a woman, dude, make no mistake, I will beat that man. I might not be physically capable of doing it, but I will do whatever I can to stop that from
To
happening.
protect.
To get involved and protect that
Yeah,
innocent
come
woman. Because it's not her choice to be in that
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. That's good.
You know? It's not a kid's choice to be in an abused
Yeah, yeah.
household. It's not their choice. Somebody's got to stand up for the innocent.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to stand up for the weak. You know? I was a person that was harming people around me.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
But I was
get
good
you.
at manipulating others. Like, come
Yeah.
on, bro. You know? Won't happen again. Don't worry about it. It's a once-off thing.
Yeah.
2 days later, I'm like doing the same
Mm-hmm.
cycle of misery, pity, and sin.
I get you.
So,
Castle challenge.
you know,
At
the
one
truth
beer.
is, the reality of it is we're all responsible for ourselves.
Ah,
I'm responsible for my own happiness. I'm also responsible for my own demise.
yeah.
You know, when I need help, I've got to put my hand up and say, Jason, but I'm in trouble.
Come on, that's good.
Like, help. I need help here.
Yeah.
But if I don't do that, I'm already starting that cycle of destruction.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So, does that answer the question?
It does. I didn't actually have a question. I just needed to rant and
The
say
statement.
it's time to man up a bit.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
let's get back to where we're at. So we're at the Castle Challenge. You've made the decision that one isn't the end of the world.
One's never enough, bro. One is never enough. So I had the one, and the guilt and that shame just, Pandora's box just went, let's delve straight back into all that hurt and all that self-doubt and all that self-pity and all the depression and all the anxiety. Let's get straight back into it. So how did I cope with all those negative feelings? I got high. I didn't realize I was actually doing it, but I was like, well, dude, I'm going to end this noise and I'm going to just get straight back into it.
Yeah.
So all that clean time, not that it really mattered, to be honest with you, because I wasn't living a life of recovery. I was just clean.
Yeah.
So that means nothing. Got straight back into drugs straight away, dude. It didn't take like a week or 2 weeks. It was have a beer, buy weed, onto cocaine, you know? Disappoint everybody, crash cars, lose a job. It didn't take long. So I mean, throughout my active addiction of 20 plus years, 24 years or so, that was the cycle. That was the cycle of success, distraction, success, distraction.
Yeah.
I slept around. I was completely unfaithful to my partner at the time. I've got 2 beautiful kids. I mean, I used to have them in the car with me when I used to buy drugs because, I mean, the drugs is more important. You choose the drugs over everything else.
Yeah.
Your responsibilities are the last thing on the radar. Dishonored my parents, almost lost my entire family, to be perfectly honest with you. Once again, I manipulated the hell out of everybody, so it didn't matter who you were. And I had so many different masks. I could wear a different mask for every person I met. I was not consistent with who, well, I had no identity. I was a drug addict.
Yeah.
I was a successful drug addict. So, it was just a mess, an absolute mess. Did it bother me at all? No, not at all. Not at all. The minute, I'll never forget, there were many instances, but the one memorable one was going on a bachelor's party. Started drinking at 8, 9 in the morning with a whole group of mates and finished at a nightclub somewhere. I don't know, landed up at some random woman's house and had slept with her. And that morning I woke up with probably one of the worst hangovers I've ever had in my life in this foreign house. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Seeing her, and I was like, no, I just got to get out here. And that guilt, that shame, that it was ravaging me.
Yeah.
I still phoned my ex from a petrol station. I had to bum money from a petrol attendant to phone her.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I mean, I carried that with me for God knows how long. and it was just drink, drink, drink.
Yeah.
Subdue the emotions, eradicate the feelings. But that scenario happened, like I say, over a 24-year period, and even longer than that, because I mean, my addiction started long before I picked up drugs anyway.
Yeah, I get you.
So long story short is that was how it was going, and then I was working. I changed jobs and got into panel beater. Great business, great people, fantastic people. Worked there for 9-10 years, and I was a useless bloody turd. I was absolutely terrible. So it was just before lockdown, actually. So COVID had now come around, so we skipped.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was 20 years I was in a cycle tumble dryer. So I'm now. COVID had just started. Like I did with every boss, I was like, "Oh, I'm an addict, I need help." No, not really. I was like, I just didn't want to come to work that day because I was hungover. So he said, "Look, I know somebody. Let me phone this guy and just, speak to him." So I was like, "Well, okay, whatever." I didn't want to get clean. Like I didn't want the help. I just didn't want to come to work for that day because I wanted to sleep it off. But I phoned this guy, and memorable conversation. We addicts know addicts.
Yeah.
We clicked, and it's like, he said, "Listen, dude, come to this group on a Monday night at this church in Benoni. Just come and sit in there." So I was like, well, I have to do it because
I'm going to lose my job.
And now I've got a house, like I'm paying a bond, and I've got 2 kids. I'm like, well, I'm going to have to adult. So I go to this meeting. Excuse me. I go to this meeting, and man, I didn't want to be there, dude. Just like, I've been to NA meeting, I've been to CA meetings, I've been to AA and this and that. I was like, whatever. But this had a bit of a twist on it. This particular meeting wasn't NA, and it wasn't CA, and it wasn't AA. It wasn't AA. It was something like a bit different, bro.
Yeah.
These oaks, excuse my language, but they were willing to call you out in your bullshit.
Yeah.
They were like not afraid. Like they're going, "You got issues, bro, and we're going to tell you about it." Exactly like what you were saying now about it. Standing by and watching something happen, these guys like get in your face.
Yeah.
It's just what I needed. I knew I needed that, But was I willing to accept that help? Was I willing to listen? Was I willing to make a change in my own life? No, I wasn't ready yet. It wasn't. I still wanted to go home and smoke a joint.
Yeah.
I still wanted to go home and have a beer. So what I could do, many years before I started my recovery journey, I left hard tack drugs, if you want to call it that. I left the cocaine, I left the ecstasy, marijuana, not marijuana. I left everything. I dropped everything.
Yeah.
The only 2 drugs that I still carried on with me was alcohol and weed. I stuck with those 2 because, well, weed's natural.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. It can only put you in a psychosis. How serious is that? And, booze is everywhere, man. Like there's hundreds of
restaurant, man.
Oh, you're going to go to the Spur and you can have a vodka. It's like, how bad is alcohol? So, well, here's me now. The alcohol was always a problem, but now it was like really getting accelerated because now I had to like have a quart every day, followed by 2-3 joints every day. So I go to this meeting and I start kind of getting clean a little bit, but I'm not, like I said, I still want to use, I'm not quite coming clean with everybody. I'm still lying to everybody in the group. I'm lying to myself, which is even more damaging, but I'm kind of like tinkering on the brink of like recovery there. So it was probably about 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks before the country went into hard lockdown.
I remember the day.
So you're like, okay, Cyril Ramaphosa's like, that's the day. Everyone's going to stay at home. I'm like, so it was probably about 2 weeks prior to that, I relapsed. So now I've been clean for like just 2-3 months-ish,
Yeah.
something like that. We go into hard lockdown, baby, and now it's party on. Like, what a joy. The only thing you could get was alcohol and marijuana. So it's like I was having a party at home. While I'm having this joy at home, I'm also on antidepressants. I'm also on sleeping pills. Now it's like you're taking something to fix you, but you're still using, and that combination is now ultra lethal.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my mental stability now from going from bad to worse. We come out of lockdown, we go back to work. I probably was at work for 2 weeks, and I flip out, like, because my boss is like Satan. I'm like, this oak's an ass. I'm going to tell him off in front of all the staff in the morning. I'm like, you can stick your job and your ways. I'm out of here. I've thought this whole thing through in my head in milliseconds. I'm going to fluke him. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to go buy drugs and booze and whatever else I can. And I'm going to go and kill myself now. Good and proper. Because now I'm just done, you know? So, yeah, I climb in my car and I'll never forget him coming to the driver's window and he hit it and he said, wherever you're going, make sure you don't come back from there. I was like, pal, you got a deal. So, got in my car, went home, and like I said, thought this whole thing out, meticulously. Beauty of drug addiction, OCD, they work very well, together. So I got a pipe, stuck it in the exhaust, put it in the window, got it like a tarpaulin to put it over the car to make sure that all that gas just stayed in. And I just waited and I waited and I could feel myself slowly slipping under. And this is where God stepped into the picture, dark, clearly. The car overheated. It's like, the first thing I said to myself was, I'm an idiot. I can't even do this right. Like, bro, where is the sense? Where is an addict's brain at when you got to go like, I can't even off myself properly. So, from that time we left Port Elizabeth, right to that moment, God was never in the picture. Not for me. I mean, listen, God, He looked out for me. I mean, I was in a lot of car crashes that, self-inflicted. I mean, I was playing action cricket on cocaine. My heart, I could feel my ribs like wanting to crack from my heart. I mean, it's just insane. There were so many moments that I should have been dead, and that at any moment while I was blaspheming and cursing Jesus and God, was there any one moment where I went like, poof, you just saved my bacon. Like, I should have died on the highway.
Yeah.
I should have, not once that I get on my knees and pray for help. Like, I don't care. So I try and kill myself. The car overheats. I'm even more angry. I'm like, okay, well, then I'm just going to have pills and booze for the next, this whole weekend. I'm going to make sure that I die. Like, I kill myself one way or another. So for 2 days, didn't eat, didn't touch water. It was just alcohol. For every can I cracked, I just took pain pills and whatever I could find. Dunk, 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 dunk. Feeling very sorry for myself. Eventually, my stomach just gave out, and I was like, okay, this is not working. And I'm like, ooh, screw you, and you're an issue, and whatever. I was like, I've got to go to the GP now, because I've obviously done something, So I'm sitting at my doctor, who's been our family doctor forever, and they've got all these brochures and leaflets, check if you have diabetes, your cholesterol, I don't know, are you breastfeeding, so all this stuff. So
Were you?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So I see this thing and I'm going like, do you have anxiety or do you have depression? So I was like, I've been to a counselor before and I've spoken to people, but anyway, so I pull up this thing and I start reading it, and they've got a questionnaire at the back there, and as God's honest truth there, I ticked every single box. I was like, and that it was at that very moment, right at that point, sitting in my GP, that switch flicked in my head, and I went, I'm the problem. It's me. It's not my mom. It's not my boss. It's not my dad. It's not my dog. It's not my kids. It's not my ex. It's not like I'm the issue. Yeah. I suffer from anxiety. I tell myself these negative thoughts and I have these feelings. And it's like, dude, now it was like, then I knew I need to change this. I need to fix myself.
Yeah.
So, or, put my hand up. It's time. So I went into the GP and I was like, okay, well, I've learned a few things over the years. It's time to be honest. So I said, listen, this is what the story is. I've been using, I've tried this, He says, my GP knows me. He's like, okay, well, you're an idiot. I was like, thanks for telling me something I don't know. So he said, well, okay, I know of a clinical psychologist. Go and see her. So I was like, okay, cool. He prescribed some meds for me. He changed things up a little bit. And he said, well, start seeing her. Come back in like 2-3 months and let's reassess things.
Yeah.
So I did. So we're still in sort of lockdown. We were in and out of lockdown.
Yeah.
And I'd now started my recovery journey. So I started recovery by myself. And this just sounds insane if I say it out loud. No long-term rehabilitation. In lockdown, I'd now started recovery by myself. I'd now made the choice. So started going to HEAL. So that's the group I attend. It's an acronym, Healing and Educating Addicted Lives, HEAL Ministries. So we weren't allowed to meet in person, so it was online.
Yeah.
So I started going back to it. I didn't have a job to go to.
Yeah.
So started attending meetings again online. What else did I do? I started journaling a little bit. It was one of the things I recommended. Saw the clinical psychologist a little more often. And then we were allowed to come back. So we were allowed in-person meetings, which was like great because I craved that, that contact. Because the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yeah.
So
community,
baby. So I was like, I love that, And it was a couple of months, and then one of the guys that I befriended in the HEAL circle, he said to me, like, how's your faith? I was like, I have faith that I can put my socks and shoes on in the morning. I
get you.
So he's like, well, have you been to church before? I was like, yeah, I've had an encounter before, like when I was younger.
Yeah.
So, well, this is where I go. Check it out. So same thing. We weren't allowed to meet in person in the church. So it was all online. So logged on one Sunday morning. I was by myself again, in the study.
Yeah.
Can't even remember what the service was about. And that was it. I was like, it was so powerful. At the end of the service, he just said, and whoever wants to give their life to Christ now, just make the decision. And I was like, I put my hand up by myself, eyes closed. I was like, Lord, change me. Take this heart of stone and just get me squared away.
Come on.
I have no explanation for my story at all. But what I do know is Christ needed my brain. He needed this to be clean first. He needed all that toxin out of my system completely, so I could start thinking a little bit more clearly.
Yeah.
And it was that moment where my life actually started. Was when I said, Jesus, you take the reins now, bro.
Let's go.
Because as much as I wanted to end my life, I need you to start my life.
So I want to add something on there because I found this a lot. So it's like, Jesus met me in this way, and it was this beautiful moment, and I
Yeah.
met with Jesus. Yeah, but you were high. No. This time I was sober, and this time it's made all the difference. You know what I mean?
Sure,
Yeah.
100%. Well, here's the thing. When you're high, you have no emotions.
Pretty much.
I didn't have a care in the world when I was sleeping with another woman. I didn't have a care in the world while my kids were in the car while I was buying drugs.
Yeah.
I didn't care that they were sleeping, that I was out and about buying cocaine and then coming back and using it. You know, I didn't care when I was sleeping with my best friend's girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, did I have a care and emotions? Did I have feelings? No. No, it was dead. Satan had his hold on me like it was. He didn't have to do any work because I was destroying myself successfully. Just as much as God wants his children, he cares about our souls, the devil wants it just as much. And this is my own personal opinion, but an addict, and I'm not talking about myself here, but recovering addict, and like I look at you and what you're doing here, there's something, powerful about your spirit that the devil wants to damage you even more so than the average human being. You know what I mean? Guys that don't have addiction issues. And that was it, man. That's when recovery started. Just I gave my life to Jesus, and it was 4 years ago. I celebrated 4 years at the beginning of June.
Thank you, Lord. That's incredible.
Yeah, and I'm an advocate for long-term rehabilitation. I've never been myself. I did those 2 little stints in the tumble dry rehab. But if I look at guys that have done long-term rehab, their success rates are a lot higher. The turnaround time to resolve issues and deal with the past is a lot quicker. I mean, I might be clean 4 years, but I still have to deal with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Which I think, if I'd have gone to rehab, it would have been done in 2 years. So,
I get you.
Yeah. But Jesus came back. I opened my heart to Christ. That's what happened. I mean, the Lord has always been waiting there for me.
Yeah.
I can actually picture him going like, Jerome, geez, bro. Like, catch a wake up, China.
Yeah.
Like hello, knock,
I get you.
McFly. Because the gifts of recovery are incredible. The gifts of salvation is even more powerful.
Yeah.
There's a couple of verses in the Bible where it speaks about you can see what the eyes cannot see. You can hear what the ears cannot hear. And
also, what being a Christian and being in this. So we've turned around, we've made the decision, Jesus, you are all I need. I've turned my back on the world, everything. Now you got no more friends.
Yeah.
Now you're sitting in this. Great. Jesus, now what? I've got you. This is all I ever need. But when you find yourself in that time, that loneliness, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to speak to. Now you have this encounter with the Holy Spirit. And now the Holy Spirit is going, whoa, you are not useless. You are not an idiot. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Amen. So now all these words you've spoken of self-destruction has now become, let me be your Morris compass. Compass, and let's build you up with these words of affirmation that is in the Word.
So with me, and I really don't mean this from a negative point or an addictive point whatsoever, but I've always walked a journey by myself. I've always had friends, and I still have amazing friends. But so when I was younger, just when we were still in Port Elizabeth in my early teen years, I was prophesied upon. My mom and I went to this little church, and the pastor came past me and he said, you, like I said, I don't understand it completely, but he said, you're going to walk a different path to others. You're not going to be alone. You'll always have your friends, but you're going to walk a different journey. And I get that because there's, out of all the people I know in recovery, there's maybe 2 or 3 guys that I can think of that have not been to long-term rehabilitation out of everybody that I've come across on my path. So it's like when you hear the statistics of guys in active addiction
Yeah.
surviving and guys that are, in active recovery, like,
Yeah.
bro, the percentages are low,
Yeah. I get you.
like real low. I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
My body and my brain is telling me that I should not be sitting on this couch.
Yeah.
Statistically, I should be dead.
I get you.
So I didn't do anything. Like, these hands
Yeah.
didn't climb a mountain, and there was no toil and struggle and strain and sweating. Like, Christ just said, dude, it's done.
Yeah.
It's cool, I got you.
Dude,
It still doesn't
sorry.
make sense.
I'm sorry. I want to. So I'm actually
Yeah.
stealing this from a completely different podcast called Delafay, and they ask a question: who is Jesus to you? And I feel, who is Jesus to you, bro? Where you are right now.
So everybody has trials and tribulations and struggles throughout their lives. It's just how it is. The problems I have now are not the problems I would have in active addiction. Does that make sense? I've got different problems in my life now. First world issues.
Almost like patching.
100%. So I've got issues in my life now. I've got problems, When I need help, bro, I cry out to Jesus because I don't know what to do. That path I just mentioned about traveling by myself, I'm not by myself. I'm still walking that coastline with two sets of footprints. He's always there, and I know it. I don't pray every day. I don't go to church every Sunday. I've probably read my Bible twice in 4 years. Like, I can't focus on these things. But what I do know is that I am not alone. Who is Jesus for me right now? When I'm going through these trials and tribulations, and when I feel like I'm by myself, He's there. The best analogy I can give to you is if I'm sitting in my bakkie having a normal day, driving around doing my work, He's sitting in the passenger seat next to me.
Come on.
Might not be talking to Him, but I don't have to because I know He's there. I can see Him, not with these eyes, but I can see Him in my life more now because my beer goggles are off and I believe in Him than I ever could have. I've seen too many miracles in my own life and in the people around me that are believers, because He only does good works in believers' lives, in my opinion. He loves everybody, but He loves His children more. I'm being selfish. But I've seen too many miracles in my own life and to the people around me that believe in Jesus. It's for Him not to be real.
I get you.
For not to be living and alive. Right, He's sitting right next to me now, bro.
I'm not saying there's an open seat for a reason, but dude, will you close for us in prayer?
Yes. Let me do this. Oh, Lord, I just want to thank You. I want to thank You so much for the gift of recovery. There's so many gifts that You offer to a recovering addict once they follow the path with You involved by their side, like You've done in my life. I just want to thank You. I want to thank You for the gift of recovery. I want to thank You for the love that You give me, Lord. My life wouldn't be what it is now if it wasn't for You. And I just want to thank You for that, Lord. Lord, I pray in Your name for a revival in an addict's life, all the addicts that are still in bondage, that do not have the ears to hear You and the eyes to see You. Lord, I pray for their hearts, Lord. Like You crushed my heart of stone and renewed it with a beating, pulsating heart of love and joy and gratitude. I pray that upon all the guys out there, Lord. I pray for revival across this nation and across the globe, that just the mere power in that robe that You wore that day, just that tiny little stretch of cloth, May it just be given upon those people that need it right now, Lord. I pray this in your holy and powerful name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Dude, thank you so much.
Pleasure, man.
Sure. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you got anything out of this and you enjoyed this, please give us a like, give us a comment, share, subscribe, and just get this out. Let's grow faith together. Love you guys. Enjoy the rest of it. Cheers. Bye.